23 hours before the Battle of Long Tan, Frank Morrison sat in the mess tent playing cards with men who would be dead by this time tomorrow. They didn't know it yet. How could they? The briefing had been routine. Light patrol, rubber plantation, probably see nothing but trees. But the intelligence officer's hands had been shaking when he rolled up the map, and Sergeant Henderson had spent 3 hours checking equipment that was already checked. When Walsh dealt another hand, Frank realized he was memorizing faces, burning them into his memory like he somehow knew he'd need to remember. Welcome to ANZAC War Stories, Vietnam Years. This is the story of August 17, 1966, the last calm day before one of Australia's most famous battles. Hit subscribe to follow Frank Morrison's journey through Vietnam, and tell us in the comments what city you're watching from. Some days feel ordinary, until you look back and realize they were anything but. August 17, 1966, 5 months into his tour, and Frank Morrison had learned to recognize the rhythms of Nui Dat. Morning stand to at 0600, breakfast at 0700, equipment maintenance, patrol rotations, the endless red dust that coated everything. Today felt like every other day, except it wasn't. The operations briefing had been at 0800. Major Smith, the battalion operations officer, had spread the map across the table and pointed to a section of rubber plantation 3 clicks from base. Gentlemen, intelligence suggests VC activity in the Long Tan area. We've had mortar fire coming from that direction for the past week. Tomorrow D Company will conduct a reconnaissance in force. Find Charlie, engage if necessary. Return by nightfall. Frank had watched Henderson's face during the briefing. The sergeant's expression never changed, but his jaw was tight, and he kept tapping his finger against the map edge. That wasn't normal. After dismissal, Henderson had pulled the platoon aside. Right, listen up. Tomorrow's patrol could be routine, could be interesting. Either way we go in prepared. Extra ammunition, fresh batteries for the radios, clean weapons. Morrison, Walsh, Jenkins, you're on point rotation. Stay sharp, watch for tripwires, and for God's sake don't bunch up. If we make contact, you follow orders and keep your heads down. Questions? Nobody had questions. They'd done this before. But Frank noticed Henderson checking his rifle 3 times that afternoon. Veterans didn't do that unless they expected to use it. By 1400 hours the equipment was ready, but nobody seemed in a hurry to leave the compound. Frank found Walsh in their hooch, meticulously cleaning a rifle that was already spotless. You worried about tomorrow? Frank asked, sitting on his bunk. Walsh didn't look up. Nah, just another walk in the park. Then why are you cleaning that thing for the 4th time today? Walsh finally met his eyes. Henderson asked for extra ammunition. Operations officers' hands were shaking during the briefing. Artillery boys are loading more shells than usual. You notice any of that? Yeah. So either Intel knows something they're not telling us, or everyone's just jumpy. Either way, Walsh set down his rifle and pulled out a photograph, a girl with dark hair and a bright smile. Either way, I'd rather be too prepared than not prepared enough. Frank recognized that look. He'd seen it in the mirror that morning when he'd stared at Margaret's photo for 5 minutes straight. Who is she? Sarah. We were gonna get married when I got back. Still are, I guess, if I get back. Walsh shook his head. Christ, listen to me. 1 patrol and I'm getting maudlin. It's not just you, everyone feels it. Yeah? Walsh looked around the empty hooch. Maybe that's worse. Maybe if everyone feels it, it means something's actually coming. The mess tent was crowded for dinner, but the usual banter was missing. Men ate quickly, mechanically, like they were fueling machines rather than enjoying a meal. Frank noticed Henderson sitting alone at a corner table, staring at his tray without eating. Frank grabbed his food and made his way over. Mind if I sit, Sergeant? Henderson looked up, surprised. Free country, or what's left of it. They ate in silence for a minute. Then Henderson spoke quietly, almost to himself. Tomorrow's my 43rd patrol. You know what they say about lucky numbers? No, Sergeant. Neither do I. Made that up. Henderson finally met Frank's eyes. How are you holding up, Morrison? Fine, Sergeant. Ready for tomorrow. Don't bullshit me. I've seen enough men before their first real contact to know the signs. You're scared. Frank thought about denying it, then realized there was no point. Yes, Sergeant. Good. Means you're smart. Henderson pushed his tray aside. Let me tell you something. Tomorrow if things go bad, and I mean really bad, you remember 3 things. 1. Stay with your mates. 2. Follow orders even if they don't make sense. 3. If I tell you to run, you run. You don't be brave, you don't be stupid, you run. Got it? You think tomorrow's going to be bad? Henderson was quiet for a long moment. I think intelligence is lying. I think they know more than they're saying. and I think they're sending us into that plantation hoping we'll stir up a hornet's nest so they can see how big it is." Frank's stomach dropped. "They're using us as bait. Welcome to war, Morrison. Sometimes the pawns go first." Henderson stood up. "Get some sleep. Tomorrow's going to be a long day." Nobody was sleeping. At 2100 hours, Frank gave up trying and found half the platoon gathered outside, sitting in the dark, smoking and talking in low voices. Walsh was there, along with Jenkins, Cooper, Davis, and several others. They made room for Frank in the circle. "Can't sleep either," Jenkins asked. "Something in the air tonight," Frank said. "Rain," Cooper muttered. "Bloody monsoon's coming, can feel it." As if on cue, thunder rumbled in the distance. The wet season was late this year, but when it came hard. Fighting in monsoon rain was miserable. Mud, reduced visibility, equipment failures. "So tell me," Davis said, lighting a cigarette. "When did you all know? Know you weren't going home, I mean." The circle went quiet. It was the kind of question you didn't ask, but once it was out there, nobody could ignore it. Walsh spoke first. 3 weeks in, saw a bloke from A Company step on a mine. One second he's there, next second he's not. That's when I knew. Could be any of us, any time." Jenkins nodded. "For me it was when I realized I was counting. Days, patrols, near misses, like keeping score in a game where the only way to win is to survive long enough to leave." Frank thought about his answer. When had he known? Maybe that first day, when he saw the body bags, maybe when Henderson grabbed his collar during the mortar attack, or maybe it was tonight, sitting in this circle, listening to men talk about death like it was weather. "I don't think I know yet," Frank said finally. "Still feels like I might make it." "Good," Walsh said. "Hold on to that. We'll need it tomorrow." At 2300 hours, the rain started. Not the gentle rain of Melbourne winters, but tropical fury that turned the base into a red mud lake within minutes. Frank lay in his bunk, listening to the drumming on the tin roof, and knew that tomorrow's patrol just got a lot worse. He pulled out his writing kit and began another letter to Margaret, the fourth one today. He'd torn up the others, too honest, too scared, too final. This one needed to be different. "Dear Margaret, tomorrow we're going on a routine patrol. Nothing dangerous, just checking an area near base. Should be back by dinner time. The rain has started. Remember how we used to sit on your parents' porch during storms? I think about that a lot here. Think about home, about you, about the life we're going to have when this is over. I want you to know that I'm being careful. Henderson looks after us, and I've learned from the veterans. I know what I'm doing now. I'm not the scared kid who arrived 5 months ago. I love you. When I get home, we're getting married immediately. I don't want to waste another day. Forever yours, Frank." He sealed the envelope and added it to his footlocker. In the morning, he'd give it to the post corporal. Standard procedure. Everyone wrote letters before patrols, just in case. Just in case. At 0300, Frank was still awake when he heard movement outside. He got up and found Henderson making rounds, checking on his men like a shepherd counting his flock before a storm. "Sergeant, you should be sleeping." Henderson smiled tiredly. "So should you, Morrison. Let me guess, pre-patrol jitters. Something like that." They stood together in the rain for a moment, watching water pool in the compound. Finally, Henderson spoke. "You know what the hardest part is? Not the fighting, not the fear. It's knowing that tomorrow some of these boys won't come back, and not knowing which ones. Every face you see, you wonder, is that the last time? How do you deal with it? You don't. You just carry it, add it to the weight." Henderson looked at Frank. "I'm going to tell you something I've never told any of my men. This is my last patrol. Win or lose, live or die, after tomorrow I'm rotating out. Back to Australia, back to my wife and kids. This is it for me." Frank didn't know what to say. "Congratulations, Sergeant." "Don't. Not yet. Not until we're all home safe." Henderson turned to leave, then stopped. "Morrison, tomorrow, if I don't make it, I want you to know, you're a good soldier, better than you think. Margaret's a lucky woman. Sergeant, you're going to make it, we all are." Henderson just smiled. "Get some sleep, Morrison. 0600 comes early." Dawn broke gray and wet. The rain had slowed to a steady drizzle, but the rubber plantation would be muddy hell. At 0545, the platoon gathered for final equipment check. Henderson went down the line, inspecting each man like they were heading to parade instead of patrol. "Morrison, ammunition. 20 magazines, Sergeant. Water, 4 canteens, full. Medical kit, present and correct." Henderson moved on, but Frank noticed his hands were steady now. Whatever demons had haunted him last night were locked away. He was Sergeant Henderson again, professional, calm, in control. Walsh leaned over and whispered, "You ready?" "As I'll ever be. Remember what I said yesterday. About every day being the same until it isn't. Walsh checked his rifle one last time. I've got a feeling today's going to be different. Good different or bad different? Don't know yet. Ask me tonight. Major Smith appeared and gathered the officers and NCOs for final orders. Frank couldn't hear the details, but he saw Henderson's face go blank for a moment, then set into hard determination. When Henderson returned, he assembled the platoon. Right, listen up. D Company moves out at 0700. Our orders are to sweep the Long Tan rubber plantation, find any VC presence and report back. This is reconnaissance in force. We're looking for a fight, but on our terms. Stay alert, stay together, and follow orders. We go in as a team, we come out as a team. Understood? Yes, Sergeant. Good. Now check your mate's kit one last time. I don't want any surprises out there. At 0655, as D Company formed up to move out, Frank took one last look at Nui Dan. The base looked peaceful in the morning drizzle, sandbag bunkers, tin roofs, the Australian flag hanging limp in the humid air. Tomorrow some of them would see this place again. Some wouldn't. Walsh appeared beside him, slinging his rifle. Hey Morrison, promise me something. What? If I don't make it back, tell Sarah I was thinking about her. Tell her, Walsh struggled for words. Tell her I would have been a good husband. Frank felt his throat tighten. Tell her yourself. We're both coming back. Yeah. Yeah, we are. Walsh grinned, but it didn't reach his eyes. But just in case, Frank echoed. Henderson's voice cut through the morning. Move out. And just like that, the calm was over. D Company, 6th Battalion, Royal Australian Regiment, began the march to Long Tan. Frank fell into formation, rifle slung, mind clear. Whatever happened next, they would face it together. The rubber plantation waited, and somewhere in those trees, so did history. By 16:30 hours on August 18, 1966, the Battle of Long Tan would be over. 108 Australian soldiers had faced an enemy force of over 2,000. When the smoke cleared, 18 Australians would be dead, including 3 men Frank had played cards with the night before. But that was tomorrow. Tonight was August 17th, the calm before the storm, the last night when everything still felt manageable, survivable, normal. Frank Morrison would remember this night for the rest of his life, not the battle, but the hours before it, the faces around the card table, Henderson's quiet warning, Walsh's photograph of Sarah, the rain on the tin roof, the moment before everything changed. Some nights define you more than the days that follow. This was one of them.